On a noxious September evening in 2016, Nathan Carman and his mother, Linda, embarked on a fishing trip from a Rhode Island marina. The sea was calm, and the night seemed perfect for their adventure. But as dawn broke, distress calls echoed over the waves. Nathan was found adrift in a life raft, his boat, the chicken pox, lost to the depths, and Linda missing without a trace. What began as a serene outing had transformed into a perplexing maritime mystery. Was this a tragic accident, or did darker motives lurk beneath the surface? Join us as we delve into the enigmatic case of Nathan Carman, exploring the events that led to that fateful night and the unsettling questions that remain unanswered. Nathan Carman was no stranger to a life marred by tension. A young man raised amidst family discord, he had always been an enigma to those who knew him. His reserved demeanor masked the complexities of a mind battling underlying mental health concerns. Despite these challenges, he maintained an outward semblance of normalcy, one that would eventually be shattered by tragedy. It was a crisp September morning in 2016 when Nathan and his mother, Linda Carman, embarked on what was supposed to be an ordinary fishing trip off the coast of Rhode Island. Setting out from Ram Point Marina, the two appeared eager to embrace a shared love for the ocean. The waters stretched endlessly before them, promising tranquility. But this serene outing would soon morph into a nightmare. Days later, Nathan was rescued alone, drifting in a life raft near Martha's Vineyard. His mother was gone without a trace, leaving only questions. Linda Carman was presumed dead, and Nathan's explanation, a sudden mechanical failure that sank their boat, the chicken pox, left investigators unconvinced. The case was fraught with mysteries from the start. Linda's disappearance and Nathan's survival stirred suspicion. The boat's alleged mechanical failure was called into question, especially after it emerged that Nathan had conducted repairs on the vessel shortly before the trip, repairs that potentially compromised its seaworthiness. But the mystery didn't end there. Investigators began peeling back the layers of Nathan's life, uncovering a troubling backdrop of family discord. His relationship with Linda had been strained, but it was his connection to his late grandfather, John Shakalos, that raised eyebrows. In 2013, Shakalos, a wealthy real estate developer, had been found fatally shot in his Connecticut home. Nathan was a prime suspect in the murder investigation, though charges were never filed. At the heart of the turmoil was a significant inheritance, millions of dollars tied to the Shakalos family estate. Linda's presumed death only deepened the financial stakes, raising the possibility that the fishing trip might have been more than it seemed. This was no ordinary disappearance at sea. It was a story of betrayal, unraveling family ties, and long-standing legal battles that painted a grim picture of greed and desperation. Spanning years and involving multiple deaths under suspicious circumstances, the case was as perplexing as it was tragic. Linda Carman's disappearance, her son's survival, and the lingering questions surrounding both their fates make this story an extraordinary tale of mystery and deceit, a web that leaves investigators and the public questioning not just what happened, but why. The Coast Guard spotted Nathan Carman on September 25, 2016, 8 days after the ill-fated fishing trip. He was found adrift in a life raft, 100 miles south of Martha's Vineyard, alone and visibly sunburned but otherwise in decent health. Nathan's account was straightforward: the chicken pox had suddenly started taking on water due to a mechanical failure. He said he barely had time to grab an emergency bag before the boat sank beneath him. According to Nathan, he had searched frantically for his mother as the boat went down but could not locate her. He described waiting for days, surviving on rations of water and food in the life raft, hoping against hope that they both would be rescued. His tone was measured as he spoke to rescuers, perhaps too measured for someone who had just endured such a harrowing ordeal. But Nathan's calm demeanor and details of his story raised immediate red flags for authorities. There were inconsistencies in his account that didn't align with the evidence. Investigators noted that the chicken pox was not equipped with sufficient emergency equipment, an omission that seemed deliberate rather than accidental. Nathan claimed to have conducted repairs on the boat prior to the trip, but experts would later argue that those repairs had rendered the vessel unsafe. For investigators, the holes in Nathan's narrative were glaring. If the boat sank as suddenly as he described, why had there been no distress call from Nathan or Linda before the sinking? Why did he have time to grab an emergency bag but not ensure his mother's safety? And perhaps most troubling, why did he seem so composed after losing his only companion at sea under such traumatic circumstances? Further examination of the chicken pox revealed that Nathan had removed 2 critical bulkheads and trim tabs during his repairs. These structural components were vital to the boat's stability. Experts concluded that the changes Nathan made likely contributed to its sudden failure. The Coast Guard's records showed that Nathan had a history of venturing out on risky fishing trips, often in questionable conditions. But this particular outing, on a boat that had been tampered with just days before, didn't sit right with investigators. What began as a simple missing person case quickly escalated into something far more complex. The inconsistencies in Nathan's story and the circumstantial evidence surrounding the boat's condition were enough to prompt a deeper probe. As investigators delved further, they uncovered a tangled web of family discord and financial tension. Nathan was no stranger to controversy. His grandfather's unsolved murder had placed him under a shadow of suspicion years earlier. With millions of dollars tied up in the Shakalos family estate, Linda Carman's presumed death raised the stakes exponentially. What had happened out there on the water? Was Nathan truly the victim of a tragic accident, or was his survival part of a carefully orchestrated plan? The questions lingered, casting doubt over every aspect of his story and fueling a media firestorm that would keep the public and authorities guessing for years to come. As the investigation deepened, peculiar details about Nathan Carman's preparations for the fishing trip began to emerge. Among them was his purchase of a used and faulty boat part, a crucial replacement component that experts later determined was inadequate and unsafe for the chicken pox. This decision, investigators argued, pointed to negligence at best and premeditation at worst. Adding to the mystery was the revelation of Nathan's strained relationship with his mother, Linda. Their bond had been fraught with tension, and family members described their interactions as emotionally distant. This was compounded by the backdrop of the Shakalos family fortune, a multi-million-dollar inheritance left by Nathan's late grandfather. Linda's death stood to benefit Nathan significantly, intensifying suspicions about his potential motive. Then came the chilling detail that added a deeply personal layer to the case, Linda's own words. Before the trip, she had confided in close friends, expressing concerns about Nathan's increasingly erratic behavior. One friend recounted how Linda mentioned feeling uneasy but decided to go on the trip anyway, possibly out of a sense of maternal obligation. These last words, in hindsight, painted a haunting picture of a mother walking into the unknown with apprehension in her heart. For Linda's surviving family, the tragedy was more than just a loss, it was a source of profound grief and growing suspicion. Her sisters, nieces, and nephews struggled to reconcile their sorrow with the gnawing question of what really happened. Publicly, the family became vocal about their doubts regarding Nathan's version of events. "We just want answers," one family member said during a tearful interview. Linda deserved better than this. She deserved the truth. Their calls for justice became a rallying cry, intensifying the pressure on investigators to uncover the facts. Adding depth to the narrative were the voices of those closest to the investigation. In one recorded statement, an investigator recalled the moment Nathan's behavior during questioning raised alarm. "He was so composed, so matter-of-fact, like he was talking about the weather, not about losing his mother," the officer remarked. These audio clips and first-hand accounts painted a vivid, emotionally charged portrait of a family torn apart, not just by a tragic disappearance, but by the lingering shadows of doubt and betrayal. Every twist in the case seemed to bring them closer to unraveling the truth, yet the answers remained frustratingly elusive. As the pieces of this tragic puzzle began to fall into place, one thing became clear: this was no ordinary case. The disappearance of Linda Carman and the survival of her son Nathan revealed a narrative as intricate as it was heartbreaking, leaving a community, and a family, desperate for closure. The case of Nathan Carman and his mother, Linda, quickly became the focus of intense speculation. Investigators and the public alike grappled with competing theories, each raising more questions than answers. Accident theory. Nathan's initial explanation was straightforward: the chicken pox suffered a sudden mechanical failure. He claimed the boat's sinking was a tragic accident, an unavoidable catastrophe that left him stranded and his mother lost at sea. Supporters of this theory pointed to the inherent risks of offshore fishing and the unpredictable nature of the ocean. Murder for financial gain. But others, including Linda's surviving family, suspected a darker motive. With millions of dollars in inheritance at stake, Nathan stood to gain significantly from his mother's presumed death. The strained relationship between mother and son only fueled these suspicions, as did the timing of the incident. Could Nathan have orchestrated the sinking to ensure his financial future? The grandfather connection. A third, more complex theory linked the tragedy to another unresolved case within the Carman family. Nathan's grandfather, John Chakalos, had been found shot to death in his Connecticut home in 2013. Nathan was considered a person of interest but was never charged. The parallels between the two cases were hard to ignore. Both involved sudden, suspicious deaths within the same family and the potential for financial benefit to Nathan. Investigators began to question whether the two incidents were part of a larger pattern. The theories began to shift toward the latter two explanations as investigators uncovered critical evidence. Experts who analyzed the chicken pox revealed that the boat showed signs of tampering. Nathan's so-called repairs had removed critical bulkheads, weakening the vessel's structural integrity and making it highly susceptible to sinking. The breakthrough came when investigators traced Nathan's actions in the weeks leading up to the trip. He had purchased a used and faulty part for the boat and failed to install adequate safety equipment, decisions that seemed both reckless and deliberate. One investigator noted, "These weren't mistakes, these were choices." And they're choices that led directly to the disaster. The case captivated the media, drawing widespread attention to the Carman family's tragic saga. News outlets dissected every detail, from Nathan's demeanor during interviews to his controversial inheritance battle. Linda's presumed death became the centerpiece of a courtroom drama, with her family accusing Nathan of orchestrating her disappearance for financial gain. Public opinion was sharply divided. Some viewed Nathan as a calculating individual whose actions pointed to guilt, while others saw him as a victim of circumstance caught in a media frenzy. Courtroom sketches, family testimonies, and expert analyses filled headlines, keeping the story alive for years. As the investigation pressed forward, the mystery deepened. Nathan's survival, Linda's disappearance, and the shadow of the unsolved murder of John Chakalos created a tangled web of suspicion and intrigue. The question lingered: was Nathan Carman a grieving son caught in a tragic accident, or a master manipulator willing to go to unthinkable lengths for wealth and freedom? As the years passed, Nathan Carman found himself at the center of intense legal battles and relentless public scrutiny. While criminal charges for Linda Carman's disappearance were never filed, her family pursued justice in other ways. Civil lawsuits accused Nathan of causing his mother's death as part of a scheme to gain access to his inheritance. The family sought to block him from receiving any money from the Chakalos estate, alleging that both Linda's disappearance and John Chakalos's murder were linked to Nathan's greed. The legal proceedings were highly publicized, with courtrooms packed as attorneys dissected every detail of Nathan's actions leading up to the fishing trip. Linda's family members, visibly emotional, testified about their suspicions, their grief, and the irreparable rift caused by the tragedy. Despite the overwhelming circumstantial evidence, prosecutors faced significant hurdles. Without Linda's body or direct proof of foul play, the case against Nathan remained incomplete. Questions about his true intentions were left unanswered, fueling frustration among those who believed justice had not been served. The case took an unexpected turn in 2022 when federal prosecutors finally charged Nathan Carman with multiple crimes, including murder on the high seas and fraud. The indictment alleged that Nathan had plotted his mother's death to secure his inheritance, describing his repairs to the chicken pox as intentional sabotage. This long-awaited development seemed to validate the suspicions that had shadowed Nathan for years. However, before the case could proceed to trial, Nathan died in custody in June 2023. His sudden death left many unanswered questions, effectively closing the book on a case that had captivated and haunted the public for nearly a decade. With Nathan's passing, key questions remain unanswered. What truly happened on the chicken pox that September day in 2016? Was Nathan responsible for his grandfather's unsolved murder in 2013? And, most hauntingly, could Linda Carman's life have been saved if not for her son's alleged actions? For Linda's family, the legal battles and Nathan's ultimate fate brought little closure. We'll never know the full truth, one family member lamented in an interview. But we know Linda deserved better than this, and will always remember her as the loving, generous person she was. In the years following his death, Nathan Carman's story remains a stark reminder of the complexities of justice, family, and human nature. The unresolved questions and lingering doubts continue to cast a shadow over his legacy, leaving the public to ponder the fine line between victim and perpetrator, and the tragic consequences of the decisions we make. The mysterious sinking of the chicken pox, Linda Carman's presumed death, and Nathan Carman's shadowy involvement remain one of the most perplexing cases in recent memory. Despite years of legal battles and a mountain of speculation, the truth of what happened on that ill-fated fishing trip remains elusive. From the questionable boat repairs to Nathan's calm demeanor during his rescue, the case raises troubling questions about intent, motive, and justice. Nathan's connection to his grandfather's unsolved murder only deepens the mystery, leaving us to wonder, was this a tragic accident, or the calculated actions of a man willing to risk everything for financial gain? While legal proceedings offered glimpses of potential answers, Nathan's untimely death has left many of these questions unanswered. The broader implications of this case, about the intersections of family, wealth, and justice, serve as a reminder of how the truth can remain tantalizingly out of reach. What do you think really happened? Do you believe Nathan Carman was guilty, or was this just an unfortunate accident? Share your theories in the comments below, we want to hear from you. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most chilling and controversial true crime cases, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you're hungry for more, check out our playlist of true crime stories unraveling the secrets behind the headlines. Stay tuned, next, we uncover the dark secrets behind another headline-making mystery that will leave you questioning everything. See you in the next video.